Okay, here is the Dagger build. So my son picked out the handle material. It's actually going to be a gift for him. And then I have some little pins. And here's the bar stock I'm using, which is an inch. And then silver nickel for the bolster and the end cap, my first end cap. This is pretty ambitious third knife. It's going to be a dagger. I actually didn't even make plans for what I was going to make, which is different, and I haven't done it since, but I figured I'm going to shoot for this thin stiletto style, at least 12-inch long blade dagger. So yeah, a little ambitious for my skill level, but let's see how it works out. So I'm just going to start by shaping it down to a point here, and I'm kind of go back and forth between this new flat hammer that I got and my 3-pound hammer that I use most of the time. So this is for my son's birthday. He's been pestering me since I've been setting up the forge and talking about knives that he really wants one. So we kind of chatted and looked at some pictures and decided we're gonna go nuts and try and build a dagger. And yeah, I'm still dropping metal from the tongs. I would kind of want to invest in some good box tongs, but I'm not really sure which ones to get yet. So I'm just kind of holding out. Although I feel like, this was only the third knife and this was just back from July. So it's getting a little old and I feel like I don't actually drop anything anymore. Haven't recently. And I'm working on knives 6 and 7 now. So I don't know. Maybe I don't need the box tongs. We'll see. So you're starting to see some profile shaping here. It's starting to come down to a point better. Just knocking off scale constantly and working on it. So in hindsight, I probably should have started with a little bit thicker bar stock or a little bit wider. Here I'm putting in the bevels. I kind of just edge it, and I'm just doing glancing blows here so I don't have to grind off as much. And then I decide I'm going to flare it out a little bit because I kind of like the profile, and I think I have enough metal to keep it going. And maybe that would have worked out if I wouldn't have had problems with the stamp, but in the end, that all was extra work that I ended up grinding off on the belt sander because it just got too thin along the edge there. And as I was just doing simple shaping and making sure it was the right angle, the metal would just chip because it would just instantly get hot. I also didn't have a full-size bucket for cooling, so I probably wasn't keeping it as cool as I could have, but it got to the point where the edges were way too thin, and I made that mistake on the next knife too before I really learned my lesson, and I think I understand what thickness I can let metal get to before it'll start chipping on the belt sander. So probably won't be making that mistake again. And we're going to skip ahead a little bit. I've already done some filing, but here is me filing some more. There was plenty of filing on this project. I did actually keep a log of my time in the shop. I try and spend at least an hour in the shop, and I do it weekdays, just kind of relax after work and get my head right, and it works out really well. But I spent a lot of time on this dagger. It was 36 hours total, and I don't think I was totally religious at keeping track of the log there at the end, so it might have even been a little bit more than that. So here I'm on the belt grinder, or bench grinder, excuse me, and more filing. I actually bought this file guide new for this one, and it's just a cheap metal one. It doesn't have a carbide edge. The carbide edge ones are a couple $100. I'm not really sure I'm ready to invest in one or more of those yet. So I didn't totally ruin this file guide, but there are some gouges in it from filing because, of course, the file will just dig into that softer metal as well. And then here I'm starting to work on the bolster, and I'm just, drilling some pilot holes, and then I'm going to have to file the rest. And I do have my new clamp for the drill on there, which is very nice. And here is it not fitting. Great footage, Justin. And then I'm going to go back to filing it some more, I assume. Yeah, there we go. So I did get these little cheap diamond files. I didn't really have any files small enough to get in the hole there. And then I'm going to work on both sides and the end to try and get that fit as tight and snug as possible. I think I still probably could have done a little bit better job on the face, but it fit nicely. Not perfectly, but nicely. We're getting there. All right, now here you can see my dog Ben in the background. He's coming up to check out what's going on, and he's gonna get very upset here at the noise. Yeah, poor puppers. So almost always when I'm in the shop, we walk down together and we close the gate at the driveway, and then Ben has free reign to run around. There he is in the background again. So he's out there hunting squirrels most of the time. When it gets really hot, I leave the gate up to the house open, so he'll hang out for an hour or so, and then he's done. He'll go back up to the house and hang out. But here I'm putting the bevels in. Oh, we're gonna go check on the dog. I used to check on the dog a lot, and now he's just running around. Doesn't really matter. But here I'm still wondering what he's doing at times. And here he is.
Good boy. That's a good boy. Just sitting there.
Okay, so here I am drilling into the handle for the tank. I still don't have a clamping solution for this, so I'm just holding on to it. Maybe not the best idea, but that's all I've got at this point. Maybe I'll make some improvements there. And then lots of hand drilling. I had to drill from both sides to get this through. And then I did have a maker's mark made. This will be my first time using it. I'm very excited. It says Auburn Forge and has a little blacksmith hammer on it. And it's not going to go very well. So my very first attempt, I'm just going to bang on it a lot, which of course makes lots of little bad impressions. Not good. And then my second attempt on the other side, I'm going to hold it with my whole fist and burn my glove on it. Smart. And then I'm going to grind those off and keep trying on the actual dagger. Maybe not the best idea. You can kind of see on the blade where I've ground it flat to try and get the bad stamps out. And there I am grinding it flat to get the bad stamps out. And then I spent several hours practicing on random stock and then back to the dagger. I never got a perfect one on the dagger. I ran out of room and I got an okay stamp. All right, not bad. So my first fireball quench, pretty excited about that. The first two knives did not fireball. And then into the toaster oven to quench. And what am I doing here? After the quench, I'm gonna grind off the scale, clean it up a little bit, make it look nice. At this point, the knife is way too thin. I'm scared to do a lot with it. Putting in the hole for the pin, I'm being very delicate and gentle here at this cross grain into the acrylic drill. I did break the handle on the last knife doing this, and pretty easy drilling through the tang since it's so thin. And then time to epoxy everything together. I'm still using the chopstick I stole from Alyssa, although I have bought some epoxy supplies. I have little plastic cups and popsicle sticks to use now for not stealing chopsticks anymore. But lots of epoxy going on here, and I have a clamp ready to get on there. All right, so I did actually miss putting epoxy between the bolster and the handle, which not sure how I missed that. There was a little epoxy there, but I had to do some actual cleanup on the handle later that I don't have footage of. And then I had grand plans to make the end cap screw onto the tang, so you could just see the tang was sticking through there. I couldn't quite get the tang to the shape to get, a thread tap to work on it, so I just gave up and epoxied it. This is pretty much a showpiece. It's not going to be a working knife. It's going to sit on the shelf somewhere, so pretty confident it won't fall off. Now I'm going to start shaping the handle. Oh no, I'm going to shape the knife a little bit here some more. And at this point I'm probably reshaping it a little bit. All right, here we go. working on the handle, and I'm very quickly going to run out of footage here. I did have more footage of me sanding and polishing and buffing, but I screwed up a bunch of that footage. I'm not sure how I had the camera on when I thought I was recording and or opposite. So I have a bunch of footage of me sitting around or talking, not realizing the camera's on, and no footage of me sanding. So here's the very last of the footage where I'm using probably like 240 grit, and before I'm going to start hand sanding and just getting the final rough shapes on it. And lots of work on the nickel silver to get it polished up. And I'm actually really proud of the handle. The handle turned out really well. The knife itself, plunge lines aren't great. The bevels aren't great. I learned a lot. I'm very happy with it. It was not a throwaway. I actually got to give it to Roman when we got together in Vegas, which was pretty great. And I think he's really happy with it.